Protect Mental Health, Be a Self-Starter series. Episode 3. COVID-19, Emotion Regulation. COVID-19, a 21st century disaster. COVID-19 is the biggest threat of the 21st century. To fight against the pandemic, there is a global attempt to stop the widespread of the coronavirus through the imposition of all kinds of prevention and control policies by the governments all over the world. In the face of ever-changing policies, we need to stay adaptive to the impact of the changes in our daily lives that can induce stress. This article highlights the importance of emotion regulation under COVID-19. Emotion outbursts, the tip of the iceberg. At the beginning of 2020, the global outbreak of COVID-19 has begun. At that time, I was studying in the United Kingdom, and faced with the nationwide lockdown. The dormitory was empty overnight. I deeply felt abandoned and the challenge of fighting against the pandemic alone with the fear of getting infected without access to medical assistance. Living in the state of fear and uncertainty for months, with earnest effort, I managed to adapt to the isolated life. However, due to emergency call from home, I had to fly back home under the circumstance that the United Kingdom banned international travels. After all hardships, the trip back home was arranged. However, due to the different requirements on the PCR test certificates, I could not board the flight. The failure to return home for emergency reason and the need to go through all the booking procedures and documentations again caused me great distress. 2 months later, I managed to book the flight back home again, but due to the new banned flight policy in Hong Kong, my trip was cancelled. When I was back home, it was 5 months after the family emergency call. I had experienced waves of negative emotions like abandonment, shame, helplessness, guilt, despair, and anger in an extended period. Undoubtedly, my experience was the tip of the iceberg. Risks of persistent high emotional arousal. What is the impact on our performance and efficiency of work or study when we are in a state of high emotional arousal for a long time? What impact will it have on our mental health? Will it induce mental illness? According to the psychological concept, Yerkes-Dodson law and performance, proposed by two psychologists, Yerkes and Dodson in 1908, we perform best when we are at the intermediate level of arousal or stress. Too much or too little arousal results in poor performance. Prolonged high stress and arousal can cause distress. Emotion regulation strategies. With the understanding that prolonged periods of high emotional alertness can have negative impacts on our mental health, I paid due attention to emotional self-regulation at the time of adversity. I find the following strategies helpful. Aware and acknowledge. Be aware of our emotions, acknowledge their presence. Accept with compassion and communicate. Accept our feelings with compassion and share the feelings with the trusted ones. Resolve and modulate, not to let emotion overwhelm and dominate us by changing how to react or express. When we are aware of our emotions, we can make use of them to understand why we feel the way we do. Then, we can have mental space to process the emotions and reappraise the situation. Take action. Be the master of our emotions. To keep myself away from the state of passivity, I find the following activities help. Writing emotion journal. Through documenting our emotions, we can express and reflect on our emotions. According to Pennebaker's report, 1990, the practice of writing about our emotions, thoughts, and bodily reactions in relation to events is beneficial to our mind and body. Regular exercise. Maintaining regular exercise, such as walking, stretching or aerobic exercise, helps release more serotonin and dopamine in the brain, which can improve mood. Keep in touch. Keeping contact with family members and friends greatly combats the feeling of loneliness and helplessness. Summary. The COVID-19 pandemic is a catastrophe for us. In the face of a series of stressful events, we must stay aware of our emotions and find ways to deal with the unpleasant feelings to avoid developing mood disorders. Author, Dr. S.B. Chan, Doctor of Psychotherapy and Counselling, University of Edinburgh, UK. Master of Mental Health, Chinese University of Hong Kong. Master of Psychiatry in Cardiff, UK. October 21, 2022.